During the political upheaval in our nation's capital in the early 1800s, religious jockeying found its place between the Methodists and the Baptists. As white memberships increased, blacks were relegated to the balconies. In 1833, a group of blacks, being discontented with their placement, decided to purchase an old building at 19th and I Streets Northwest. They became known as the First Negro Baptist Church, now known as 19th Street Baptist on 16th Street. This move inspired the movement of planting churches or sending small groups of people from one church to another to build its ministries. One of the churches they planted became the Fourth Baptist Church, now known as our beloved Metropolitan Baptist Church. In 1864, a church was born. 1 year following the Emancipation Proclamation, the black residents of the District of Columbia lived in areas of the district known as Hell's Bottom, Kowtow, and Vinegar Hill. It was in Hell's Bottom that Reverend Henry Bailey and 10 believers began to worship in an abandoned Civil War barracks known as Camp Barker, and established their gathering as Fourth Baptist Church. During Reverend Bailey's pastorate, the congregation became known as Heaven Bound in Hell's Bottom. Reverend Bailey resigned in 1870. In that same year, Fourth Baptist Church called the Reverend Robert Johnson as pastor. During his 30-year tenure, the name of the church was changed to the Metropolitan Baptist Church, Colored, in 1888. During his tenure, the organizational structure of the church began to take form. Dr. Moses Wilberforce DeWitt Norman was called to the Metropolitan Pastorate in 1905. Through his leadership, a magnificent pipe organ was installed. Known as a powerful preacher, the congregation grew exponentially. Dr. Norman went home to be with the Lord in December of 1926. Metropolitan was without pastoral leadership for 2 years. Dr. Ernest Clarence Smith became Metropolitan's fourth pastor in June of 1928. Notably, he established the Baptist Training Union, the Christian Education Institute, and a vacation Bible school. After 48 years, Dr. Smith retired in 1977 and subsequently passed on January 12, 1988.
H. Beecher Hicks Jr. was called to the Metropolitan pulpit on June 17, 1977, and has served Metropolitan for 37 years, preferring to be called senior servant. Dr. Hicks is noted for his inclusion of women in the administrative as well as the licensed and ordained ministry of the church. Under his leadership, Dr. Shell Price Clemison became the first female ordained to the preaching ministry, and on December 12, 1992, 6 women became the first females ordained to the diaconate of the church. Hicks notably also established an AIDS ministry, deaf ministry, reconstructed the sanctuary, fed 5,000, and to this day, he loves to sing, "My Soul's Been Anchored." Dr. Hicks is a noted author. His writings include Preaching Through a Storm, On Jordan's Stormy Banks, and My Soul's Been Anchored. Metropolitan continues to be a church of impact and power.
Her people are prayerful,
Her preaching is Christ-centered.
And her outreach is Bible-based.
Above all, we remain firmly fixed in God's hand.
We are Metropolitan.
We are Metropolitan strong.
On the Word, under the cross.
Celebrating 150 years.